Hey guys, you are on the 14th Step. It's a podcast about addiction and recovery. My name is Mark. I am a professional counselor and a recovering addict.
Hey, my name is Skip. I'm a recovery coach and a recovering addict. We're glad you're with us today.
Yes. On the podcast, we are always looking for different perspectives on recovery and having conversations with people who are thinking about solutions to this big problem of addiction. And that, for me, I think it's important to talk about the legal realm, especially when we're talking about drug and alcohol-related crime.
Mm-hmm.
And so today, we are very honored to have our guest,
Yes.
City of Victoria Municipal Judge Vanessa Heinold. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted. Actually, I am overjoyed to be here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is
So
great.
we have a few questions for you, and we want to talk about some of the things that you've been doing in our area. But I think it also, the kind of things that you're doing is interesting on how it affects policy as a whole and how it affects people. So
Yeah, and you started a program. Well, first tell us a little bit about your background and how long you've been a municipal judge and that sort of thing.
Well, first of all, you guys know that you should never give a judge an open mic, right? Y'all know this?
we
I
don't
don't.
know
Talk
anything
on
really.
and on and on.
Yeah.
No, I'll try to keep it brief. So, yes.
Keep my bond low. Sorry.
I am the municipal judge here locally, and I have been in that role for 6 years. I've enjoyed it. I've seen lots of change, we've kind of ushered in some new ideas on how to work within our system to kind of make some changes that needed to be made. Before that, though, I was a prosecutor. I was a prosecutor in Harris County, which is Houston, and then I was a prosecutor here in Victoria, and so kind of have seen the issues that you guys have been discussing from various angles, and anyway, that's why I'm part of the reason why I'm so excited to be here. So
Yeah, so you started CTR,
yes,
which is the Court to Recovery Program.
I did.
Is that right? Did I say that right?
I did.
Tell
yes.
us about that.
So it's a great program, or I hope it's a great program. But basically, what I saw as a prosecutor, what I saw as a judge is folks that were struggling with their substance abuse or misuse, both with alcohol and with drugs. And I, as a prosecutor and as a judge, have seen kind of these, well, for lack of a better word, a revolving door, so to speak. And so, and I've seen it at all different levels. In my court, I deal with only what we call Class C misdemeanors, which are fine-only offenses. Usually that's like public intoxications, it's possession of drug paraphernalia, open container of alcohol in a vehicle, like things like that. So these aren't like, they are, Class C misdemeanor. I guess, there's a law that is broken. However, I wouldn't call them, they're not major offenses, right? But what I have seen through the years is that when you have an interaction with law enforcement, when you have that combination of drugs or alcohol involved in the mix, there's typically something more serious going on. It should be kind of a wake-up call. But I didn't feel like I had the tools, besides them just appearing in court, to even address some of the things that needed to be addressed. And so what I did was I reached out to a great organization here in our area, Billy T. Catan. And the reason is because when I was a prosecutor, I worked on what we call the DWI court. And what I found, and this was for folks that were repeat offenders with a DWI arrest. And so what I found was this program I got to work on and got to know the defendants who were assigned to that program. They worked with Billy T. Cattan. They received counseling. All of these like amazing people, all hands on deck, including the judge, a defense attorney. We had counselors there. We had, all of these people really investing, pouring in to these defendants to help them make a change and really be able to recognize the way different choices affect their life and like how we can make better choices. It's an intense program, but I'll tell you what, I'm still friends with several of the defendants that were in that court program. I see them around town. I give them Christmas gifts. I give them birthday gifts. And it's been 10 years since I was in that program with them. So anyway, I saw it. It was powerful. The change in these folks, the freedom that they were given, and it wasn't without hard work, and it wasn't without dedication of all the people involved. But it was so worth it for them. And anyway, so that, along with a few other things, it just really moved me to reach out to Billy T. Cattan and try to create a program like this for my court.
Right.
So that people that come in with, what most people think are very minor situations like public intoxication, like if there is a bigger problem, let's address it. Let's just assess and see. And then let's make sure you know where you can get help. Let's make sure you know how these choices can affect, your problem solving, your family relations, your, all of those things. And I was so pleased because, when I called Billy T. Cattan, I'm like, hi, guys. I'm Vanessa. I'm a judge in Victoria. And I just didn't know what they were going to think, But you know what? They were amazing. And they were like, let's figure this out. And I love that kind of collaboration.
Call Skip. He'll do it. That's what they said.
I've always thought that if we're thinking about like a big picture solution to the substance problem, punishing people has always been a part of it. And that works to some degree, but if that's all you're going to do, then, we've seen the drug problem skyrocket, and there's been a war on drugs for 40 years now.
My whole life.
And so I've always felt like the more of a community that we build and the more opportunities that we let people who are suffering from addiction or have issues to be a part of that community and feel a part of it rather than simply isolating them away from society, which is what we've done, I think the better chance that they have to recover, to find recovery. And I know people that find recovery in jail cells, but a lot of times they just go right back to the environment that they came from, and so some of that kind of goes away. If you connect people to a bigger community of recovery, you connect them to recovery coaches, you build relationships with law enforcement, with judges, I think people are going to feel a lot less isolated. I think that goes a long way.
So that was part of the part of my request was that, hey, I want to build camaraderie.
Yes.
Connection.
Right.
Because in that connection, there is support, but also accountability. And that is powerful. And so what we have done is basically, if someone comes to my court, and in exchange we keep convictions and things like that off of their record, but we ask them to go and do an assessment with Billy T. Cattan and some classes to just learn more, get an idea of maybe what's going a little deeper, what could be going on, what's some information that could help them. But then they do that with a cohort of people. They move to these classes, and then they come back to me, and if they've completed those classes, then they show me that kind of a certificate of completion, if you will, but then there's a graduation. There is a celebration. And I couldn't be happier with a program that looks like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it could be really powerful.
And it shows, I think it helps them gain respect for the judicial system, that you're just not a bad, it's not a bad guy. You're out there to help them.
Yeah, because people are used to being stuck in the system, and the system has been taking. We're going to take. We're going to take your freedom, take your money, and that's the consequence of someone's actions, which is what the law is. But I think the big difference and the big shift in thinking in programs like this is that now you're giving them something. You're giving them accountability. You're giving them support in a positive environment. That's huge.
Or have you seen the people come through? I know it's brand new. Do you think they're younger? Or is it? Am I thinking that wrongly?
No, I think there are folks in my court of all ages, certainly, but yes, I am seeing people coming into my court that are younger, and they're repeat.
Yeah.
They're coming again and again. And that's where part of the motivation for this program was one particular person in my court who, again, was struggling, told me in open court, I am struggling. I don't know where to go. I looked at his record. I said, you were just here about a month ago with a public intoxication. Since then, you have been arrested for DWI. And now you're here again on another PI. And I said, I agree that I see that you are struggling, and we're going to try to do something different. Now, luckily, in a court like mine, I can, kind of tailor things, but I just did not feel like I had enough.
Right.
And so we were calling him. I asked him to do some AA classes and or AA meetings until I could find something else, and we were going to call him every 5 to 10 days to check in. And I got some terrible news on I guess it was about the 11th day when he didn't answer and he had committed suicide. And so I don't pretend that I can save the world or everyone in the world or anything like that, but I didn't like that feeling at all, and I was like, I need to do more. I've got to do something else. I've got to leverage my relationship in this community to try to get the support and the systems in place to help a young man like him in my court. Now, I don't know, I don't believe that everybody is there, in the same situation, but if there's ever a question about where do I go, what do I do, I am struggling, then I want to be able to
connect them with something.
Somebody, because I'm not an expert.
Right.
You are the expert. But I need to facilitate, I need to use y'all's resources.
Well, what happens is, Mark said it just a while ago, somebody that's in that life is having nothing but things taken from them over and over again. Everything is taken from them.
And they're taking too.
They're the reason that it's a life of taking and things being taken from you. And when we say when you get into recovery, you can turn it into a life of giving and things being given back to you. And it's easy to say, right? Not easy to do. But when I first heard about this program, what I thought of was myself 25 years ago is someone who is dabbling in whatever they are as a fun thing or whatever it is, drinking out, taking, recreational drugs or whatever. And as they have issues in their life, though, what they're going to find is that when they're dabbling, they're going to find a temporary solution to sort of calm the things in their life that they're struggling with.
Use that as a coping mechanism. And then that really is going to fuel the addiction for many, many years to come. And maybe catching that early on, you're going to be able to teach them how dangerous of a game that they're playing. Well, that's my hope. I hope that I can get that information to them so that maybe there's just a pause, right? And just kind of a glance and say, oh, wait, I need to make a current assessment here because this is maybe more than I'm thinking it is. Or, you know what I mean? Like
absolutely.
There's just maybe a little more going on there.
And my brain runs into weird directions when it comes to like DWIs, and when I think about that kind of thing, I think of the chances of somebody getting stopped and getting a DWI, much less a second one or a third one, that the chances of a casual person getting pulled over at the exact moment and getting is astronomical. So if they're getting multiple, that means the majority of the time that they're in a car, they could get arrested for that.
I've heard the statistic that by the time somebody gets a DWI, on average, they've driven intoxicated like 80 times or something by the time they actually get caught.
And maybe the second one, maybe 1,000 times. I mean, it just can you imagine, you know?
I mean, there's always those people that go to the Christmas party and then the one time that they drive under the influence, they get arrested. But I would say that's the exception.
Right. So that's the thing. Once they get caught, what are the odds? That means they're probably doing what they're doing a lot.
Oh, sure.
Is what I'm thinking of.
Well, and I just hope their involvement in a program like this, getting, and it's not just like hearing the information, but knowing where our program, where it's located, knowing what services are offered.
Exactly.
All of those things, right? And then also knowing that they're not alone. They are in a room full of folks that are also getting kind of a wake-up call.
That's what I wanted to ask you, Vanessa. If you could give a message to someone who is a participant in this program, what do you want to communicate to someone who's entering into it?
I just want to encourage everyone to come in with an open heart and an open mind, and to really listen to the folks around them and the folks in front of them, right? And learn from others' experiences. And then my hope is that they can make a really truthful assessment about where they are, about any changes they need to make, about if they need to reach out to get some additional help and support in their lives. And it takes courage. Here's the other thing. Like, this isn't... This is something that I have seen on certainly in my career, but it's also a very personal issue to me. I really just want people to know that there are other folks out there that are just like them, and that choices and new ways of thinking can be done and made, created, and practiced, but that we all just need to have kind of an open heart and an open mind to those changes and ideas,
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
The old timers in AA meetings used to say that sometimes your first sponsor is a judge, and they would say that all the time. We really want to hear your own stories of recovery. If your recovery started in the court, please leave us a comment. We would love to feature that on a future podcast.
Absolutely. Will you come back and
I
do it
would
again?
love to.
It's so good to have you on the show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. See ya.
Like and subscribe.
Please.